It started with a single blink, caught by a dusty security camera in a forgotten corner of a suburban home. The footage shows a porcelain doll unmoving for hours, until her eyes suddenly close, then open again. No one was near, no strings, no tricks. The internet dismissed it as a glitch. But the family living there, they weren't sleeping anymore. The Wallace family had moved in just 3 months before. It was supposed to be a fresh start. A quiet neighborhood, clean air, good schools. The doll had come with the house, left behind in a box of forgotten things in the attic. At first, no one paid attention to it. Just another antique. Until strange things began happening after sunset. The first night it happened, the power dipped for 3 seconds. Every light in the house blinked off, then back on. But the baby monitor stayed off. When they checked the nursery, the doll was on the floor. No one remembered putting it there. The baby cried for hours that night, eyes locked on something just behind the crib. Something no one else could see. Hoping to calm their nerves, the Wallaces installed security cameras. One in the hallway, one in the nursery, one in the attic. They didn't expect to capture anything. But on night 3 at 3:12 a.m., the doll blinked. Not once, not fast. A slow, deliberate closing of eyelids. Then wide open again. The footage has no audio. But if it did, you'd swear you'd hear breathing. The file wasn't corrupted. No jumps, no lag. The blink was clean, uninterrupted. Frame by frame, you could see it happen. The eyes closed at frame 4, stayed shut for frame 5, and opened again at frame 6. People online began to argue. Some claimed CGI, but others noticed something else. Reflections moving in the doll's glassy eyes. Reflections of someone or something that wasn't in the room. After the footage went viral, viewers begged for more details. So the family returned to the attic. Inside the box where the doll was found, they discovered something odd. A sealed envelope. Inside, a photograph of a little girl. Pale eyes hollow, holding the same doll. On the back, a single sentence written in faded ink. Do not let her wake. In the corner of the attic, behind an old trunk, they found the floorboards scratched with a name. Annoria. No one they knew, no record in the deed. But when they Googled it, the results pointed to an abandoned orphanage, burned down in 1967. The same doll was in one of the surviving photographs, lying next to a child who was never identified. That same week, the mother began noticing shadows. Not fleeting, not from light. They lingered, shaped like a figure just out of view. Sometimes near the doll, sometimes at the foot of their bed. The dog refused to enter the nursery, and the baby, once cheerful, now stared for hours at empty corners, whispering a name they'd never taught her. Annoria. 5 days later, a second video surfaced. Same room, same doll. This time, the footage showed more than a blink. The doll's head turned ever so slightly, just enough to face the crib, and from the crib's mobile. Every plush animal spun in reverse. The family left the house that night. But the doll was waiting when they returned. Why would a doll blink? Plastic doesn't move, glass eyes don't close. But what if the eyes aren't glass at all? What if they're borrowed or possessed? Experts began to examine the footage frame by frame. No tampering, no edits. And yet each blink seemed intelligent, like something behind the eyes was watching back. At 2:47 a.m., the hallway mic picked up something new. Not speech, but movement. A slow, deliberate scraping, like fingernails along plaster. It came from inside the walls. The dog growled at the floorboards, hackles raised. Then silent. until a faint whisper emerged. Two words almost too soft to hear. "She's here." The doll hadn't moved, but her eyes looked satisfied. Desperate, the family called a local medium. The moment she stepped into the nursery, she froze. No ratings, no chance. Just one sentence. She wasn't made to be loved, she was made to be bound. The medium refused to stay. Said there were things attached to the doll. And one of them was still hungry. She left a card with 3 words scribbled on the back. Salt, iron, fire. Analyzing the footage further, a viewer noticed something strange. Every time the doll blinked, the house's temperature dropped 3 degrees. And in one frame, you could see a small face reflected in the glass door. A child's face, pale, mouth open in a silent scream. No one was standing there. The camera was motion activated, but no one had entered the room. At least no one living. Internet sleuths took over. The name Annoria appeared in old police logs. A missing girl last seen in 1956. Vanished from the same orphanage that burned. She had one item with her when she disappeared. A porcelain doll with blue velvet ribbons. That doll had never been found. Until now, and the night she vanished. The full moon. Same phase as the blink video. Scratching began to appear on the walls again. This time in the nursery. Thin, jagged marks in groups of 5. Like fingers or claws. They formed a shape. A circle with an eye in the center. The baby wouldn't stop crying. The dog wouldn't enter the house. And every morning, the doll would be found in a different room. Always facing the same direction. North, hidden behind a wall panel. They found an old photograph charred at the edges. 5 children in gray uniforms, faces solemn. Each one holding a doll. All identical. But behind them, a shadow that didn't belong. It had too many fingers. Too many eyes. And in the photo's corner, someone had scribbled. Only one remains. If she blinks 3 times, run. The footage was quiet for days. Until it happened again. Blink number 2. Slower this time. Eyes closing, holding. And opening with a tiny click. Like ceramic shifting under pressure. On that exact night, 3 neighbors reported sleep paralysis. All saw a girl at the foot of their bed. All described the same thing. A porcelain face. And eyes that never blinked. The nursery baby monitor began picking up static. But not white noise. Muffled voices always repeating the same phrase. Don't look away. Once they heard a girl laugh. Then silence. The monitor melted that night. Literally warped from the inside. And in its place on the shelf, the doll sat, hands folded, head tilted slightly to the left. Eyes still open. A third set of scratches appeared. Not on walls, on skin. 3 shallow marks across the mother's shoulder. Like something had tried to grip her. She didn't remember it happening. But the baby had started smiling again. Only when the doll was in sight. And during naps, she whispered, always the same name. Over and over. Soft, loving. Annoria. At 3:00 a.m. sharp, the camera light flickered red. Motion detected. The room was empty. Except for the doll, who had closed her eyes once again. Longer this time. A full 12 seconds. The countdown had begun. But when her eyes opened, they weren't brown anymore. They were human. And deep inside the pupils, there was movement. Not a blink, a reflection of someone else now inside. Following the medium's warning, the father placed an iron ring around the doll. It held for a night. Then by morning the ring was split, cracked clean down the middle, as if pressure had built from within. The room smelled of burnt hair, and on the window pane, a small handprint, too small to be the baby's, too high to reach, still pressed against the glass, still warm. They turned to the old ways. Forums, folklore, forgotten rites. Annoria wasn't just a name. It was a binding, a spirit sealed in childhood. Some cultures called it a tether soul, a life forced into stillness. Dolls weren't just toys. They were vessels, prisons, and if the soul within ever woke fully, the vessel would no longer be enough. The mother dreamed of flames, a room filled with crying children. One by one they burned, but not Annoria. She stood smiling in the center, unaffected by the heat, cradling her doll. Her eyes met the mother's, and without opening her mouth, she said, "You brought me back." The woman awoke screaming, and at the foot of the bed, the doll sat, ash on her dress. The security system pinged again. Motion in the attic. At 3:33 a.m. the feed glitched. Not off but distorted, like something moved through static. For 13 seconds, the screen showed the doll standing. Yes, standing. Legs straight, head tilted. Then back to seated. No one believed it, until the timecode matched the family's door alarm. The attic latch had opened. From the inside, a viewer suggested a whisper test. Leave a recorder by the doll overnight. They tried it. What they captured wasn't a whisper. It was humming, a soft child's tune played in reverse. Over and over, and near the end, a word clear, deliberate, and wrong. Mommy. The baby hadn't learned to speak yet. But when she saw the playback, she smiled, following an old text. They performed a protection rite. Circle of salt, 7 candles. The doll was placed at the center. For 1 hour nothing moved. Then one by one, each flame extinguished. Not from wind, from inside out, like oxygen vanished. When the final candle died, the salt line broke. The doll remained, eyes closed. For now, as clips spread online, so did a pattern. Users who zoomed into the blank frames too closely reported blackouts. One even posted their screen melting, literal pixels dripping into darkness. Reddit mods removed all GIFs. The original footage, now flagged, not by the site, by something else. Each re-upload distorted further, until the eyes blinked before the footage even played. The bathroom mirror fogged on its own. Steam with no source. When wiped, a message appeared. Almost here. The mother screamed, not because of the words, but because she recognized the handwriting. It was hers, but she never wrote it. Not in this life. And that night, the doll blinked again. But this time, so did the baby. The baby's demeanor changed. No longer cried. No longer laughed. Just watched, sometimes blinking in perfect sync with the doll. Other times copying her head tilt. The pediatrician found nothing wrong. But the camera caught her speaking. Not babbling, whispering an old rhyme. From the orphanage's original records. Words not spoken in 60 years. But remembered. By something. They tried locking the nursery. Windows sealed. Door bolted. Doll placed inside alone. Next morning, she was on the kitchen counter. No sign of forced entry. Every camera feed glitched. Except one. For half a second, a frame showed the doll midair. Arms outstretched. as if jumping, and beneath her shadow, another shape, much larger, much older. An antique dealer reached out. He recognized the doll, said it was part of a set. 12 vessels, 12 spirits. Only one remained active. He sent a page from an old book. Each doll had a name, each name a binding. And at the bottom of the list, Annoria, vessel incomplete. Meaning what? That something was missing, or something was still entering. They searched for the doll's origin. A museum once displayed a similar piece. Records gone. Website offline. Curator unreachable. Only one archived photo remained. Blurry low-res, but her eyes were the same. And in the background, a burned plaque read, recovered from site of unnatural fire. Do not display under moonlight. That night, the moon was full, and the doll blinked. Twice. The baby had never held a crayon. Then one morning, a picture appeared on her wall, drawn in perfect symmetry. 12 stick figures around a circle, one in the center larger, darker. Above it, a single word. Home. The doll sat beneath the drawing, eyes open, mouth slightly parted, as if ready to speak. But no sound came, just static from every speaker in the house. The father began sleepwalking, always toward the attic, each night a little further, until he reached the old mirror. There he whispered. They reviewed the footage, but the audio glitched. Only his final words remained. She's not the doll. He doesn't remember any of it. But his hands were covered in ash. One morning she was gone. No note, no evidence, no signal, just gone. They searched the entire house. Even the baby cried again, as if something precious had left. But that night, all 12 candles relit themselves, and in each flickering flame, a shadow of a girl blinking in sync. They thought it was over. They were wrong. She had only just begun to remember. They had avoided the basement. Too damp, too cold. But something was calling them now. Behind the water heater, they found a bricked wall. Fresh mortar. They chipped away carefully. And behind it, a small alcove. Inside, a second doll. Mouth sewn shut. Eyes painted black. And carved into the floorboards beneath it. Keep her separate, or they merge. At 2:22 a.m. both dolls blinked. Not together. Not random. Sequential. First one, then the other. Like a signal. Or a countdown. And in that moment, every screen in the house turned on. Security monitors, baby cams, TVs. Each displaying the same thing. An old room, a crib, a fire, and a girl watching it all. From inside the flame, a package arrived. No return address. Inside, a VHS tape marked play when she returns. They didn't own a player, but the TV played it anyway. Static cleared to show a date. March 3, 1956. A little girl sat cross-legged, staring into the lens. She didn't blink until the final second. Then her eyes shut, and the house's power died instantly. For exactly 66 seconds. The next morning, the nursery door was sealed shut. From the inside, scratching echoed behind it, and a thin red line began to pool out beneath the crack. Not fresh, old, sticking. When they broke the door down, the baby was asleep unharmed, but every surface had been covered in writing. One sentence scrawled hundreds of times. She's almost me. They ran another test. Side-by-side footage of the baby and the doll. Both blinked at the same frame. Identical timing. Identical head tilt. As if sharing a signal. Or worse, a nervous system. Experts couldn't explain it. Neurologists called it impossible. But the baby had changed. Her reflection in the mirror wasn't hers anymore. The baby began speaking in full sentences. Overnight, fluent, with vocabulary no child her age should know. But only after midnight. She asked questions, personal ones, about the mother's childhood, about things she had never told anyone. And when asked how she knew, she smiled and replied, "You told me, before you were born." Shadows deepened. Even at noon, the house felt dim. Cameras captured brief flashes. A second figure standing next to the doll. Always smiling, no matter the angle. But the smile was wrong. Too wide, too many teeth, and in one frame. Its hand touched the baby's shoulder. The temperature dropped instantly. And the baby, she turned and smiled the exact same way. News broke. The museum storage facility had been robbed. 12 artifacts missing. All porcelain dolls. Each one sealed in separate lead boxes. All vanished the same night the second blink was recorded. Surveillance tapes blank. Staff found only one thing left behind. A circle burned into the floor. Inside it, a note. "Bring her back. She is not complete." The doll stopped blinking. For days, weeks, almost as if she had left. But the baby began blinking differently. Eyes moving with precision. Timed pauses, always toward the attic door. Like she was waiting for something. Or someone. And one night, she whispered to herself, "I blink so she won't have to." They redrew the salt lines. Reinforced the circle. Placed both dolls inside. Set cameras. Stayed up all night. Nothing moved. Until 4:04 a.m. Every line shattered outward. Like something exploded from the center. But there was no fire. Just a message on the wall. Drawn in ash. She blinked once. The girl blinked twice. Now the body is ready. A neighbor returned an old toy. Found in their mailbox. A third doll. Identical. Eyes already closed. The moment it entered the house, the baby fainted, and the nursery lights began to flicker. In patterns. Morse code. When decoded, the message was chilling. 3 is the threshold. After that night, the baby's eyes stayed open. Even in sleep, the father became different. Eyes sunken, speech disjointed. He began writing at night. Pages and pages. But the language was unknown. A mix of symbols and screams. He claimed not to remember. But one sentence appeared in English. "She's not done yet." The next morning, he was found asleep in the attic, cradling the doll, like a child. The footage began showing things no one remembered recording. New angles, new moments, events that hadn't happened. Yet, one clip showed the entire family asleep, while 12 dolls stood around them in a circle, blinking, one by one. And in the final frame, a 13th shadow loomed behind the lens. Watching, the medium called again. Panicked, said she'd seen something in her dreams. All 12 vessels were aligning. Annoria wasn't trapped anymore. She was building, pulling pieces of herself back together. And when the 13th blink came, there'd be no reversing it. "No fire can stop her now," she whispered. "You're not in your house anymore. You're inside hers." It happened without warning. At exactly 3:00 a.m., every camera activated, every screen flickered. The doll's eyes shut, the baby's eyes shut. The lights went out. 13 seconds passed. Then everything turned back on. But the footage had changed. The family wasn't on screen anymore. Only the doll, sitting in a dark hallway. Alone, she looked into the lens and blinked 13 times. Police entered the house, all cameras still running. But the rooms were empty. No family, no dolls, only silence, except for the nursery. Inside, a loop played nonstop. The baby smiling, the doll beside her, blinking, over and over. A voice echoed from the monitor. She's here now, and she remembers. In the attic, hidden beneath the floor, they found a chalk circle, ancient symbols, melted wax, burned candles in 13s. And in the center, a child's tooth, still fresh, still warm. This wasn't a haunting. It was a ritual, one designed not to summon, but to complete. Annoria was never bound. She was becoming. The last surviving footage was decoded. Hidden frames between the blank loops. Someone had layered a message. Words scratched between seconds. She is the 13th. The dolls weren't vessels. They were pieces. And the baby, not possessed, created, born from fragments. A host, a body shaped to fit. Viewers reported strange behavior. The footage began reacting, blinking when paused, faces appearing behind reflections, phones crashing, screens shattering. One commenter wrote, "She saw me blink," and never posted again. It was no longer just a file. It was an invitation, a window, and we had opened it too wide. 3 weeks later, a box arrived at a museum. No sender, no note. Inside, one porcelain doll. Mouth sealed, eyes painted shut. Labeled simply Annoria. The museum prepared to display it. Glass case, motion sensors, full security. But on the first night, the curator blinked, and the doll's eyes opened. She was waiting, still smiling. Someone tried to film the doll again, this time using a mirror. The camera showed nothing, but the mirror reflected a child, walking slowly, closer and closer, until her eyes met the lens, and blinked. Then the glass cracked. From inside, the footage was deleted, but one frame remained, labeled, "First host located." Annoria had found a new path. Not through doors, not through blood, but through screens. Each view, each pause, strengthened the tether. People began reporting dreams. Children humming, eyes blinking from unplugged TVs. You didn't need the doll anymore. You only needed to watch and blink at the wrong time. The Wallace family was never found. No records, no belongings, only their camera system, streaming endlessly, showing an empty hallway, and a nursery door slightly ajar. Sometimes viewers hear laughter, other times blinking, but no one dares fast forward. Because the last time someone did, their reflection didn't match. You've seen the footage now, heard the names, watched the blinks. Maybe she's just a story. Or maybe she's closer than you think. Check your mirrors. Check your screens. Have they flickered, glitched? Because once she knows you're watching, she never stops. She waits until the exact moment you blink. One final clip remains. Posted from a deleted account. No title, no caption, just a black screen. Until eyes appear. Wide, human, unblinking. Then slowly, a doll's face fades in. Closer, closer, until the eyes fill the frame. Then, a single blink. In silence, nothing more. But some say, if you replay it, it blinks back. The baby monitor activated at 3:09 a.m. No motion detected, but audio played anyway. Not crying, a low hum, then a whisper. Then something else, the sound of weeping. But it came from below the crib. They checked. Nothing was there. But the floor was warm and etched into the wood. One word burned in black. Stay. The walls began to change. Peeling wallpaper revealed drawings. Dozens. Children holding hands in a ring. In the center, always a doll. In some, the doll smiled. In others, her mouth was gone. One image showed a girl halfway inside the doll. Legs dissolving into porcelain. And at the bottom of every drawing, a child's signature. Annoria. They stopped speaking near the doll. Every sound echoed wrong. Their own voices bounced back. Challenged, slowed, until one day they heard a new voice join the echo. Small, feminine, not repeating but replying. When asked, "What do you want?" the response was clear. To finish what you started. Then silent, until the baby whispered back. Okay. A single frame glitched in the hallway footage. Just one, but in that frame the family's faces were missing. Blacked out, like ink had been smeared across their eyes. Only the doll remained sharp, crystal clear, and when the frame was enhanced, a small figure could be seen holding the camera, wearing a dress, and blinking. They tried breaking the second doll. Hammer, fire, acid. Nothing worked, until it cracked on its own. From inside, porcelain split open, but it didn't reveal stuffing or wire. Instead, there were teeth. Small, human, 32 in perfect order, still rooted in gums that bled. The crack sealed again within minutes, but the sound of chewing continued. For days, the baby no longer needed rest. Eyes open, staring at ceilings, tracking things no one else could see. She'd smile at shadows, giggle at corners, and when they played lullabies, she cried, as if the melodies hurt her. But every time the doll blinked, the baby calmed, as if their hearts now beat together. And in a way, they did. They tried recreating the circle. The one in the attic. Same chalk, same sigils. But this time it didn't repel. It invited. The flame flickered inward. The shadows lengthened. And the circle whispered. Not words, but a melody. The one from the burned orphanage footage. Soft, relentless, and in its final note, a voice returned. Now she knows you. They awoke with marks, thin lines across their backs, like fingers tracing paths across skin. 3 curved scratches, always fresh, never bleeding, and always cold. The mother swore she heard breathing beside her. The father saw a hand reach from the mirror. Only once, but it touched his cheek. And now he dreams in porcelain. In the baby's eyes, they counted 11 shapes, always just out of focus. Then one day a 12th appeared, perfectly clear, not a reflection, not her own, a girl older watching. The baby giggled and blinked when she opened her eyes. They were no longer hers, and a whisper came through the monitor. One more, then I walk. They covered the mirrors, but one cracked anyway. From behind, the surface rippled like water and showed not a reflection, but a room, not theirs, stone walls, a crib made of bones, and 12 dolls seated in a circle, waiting, as if watching from another side. And in the center, a 13th seat, still empty, still warm. At 2:03 a.m. the doorbell rang. The cameras caught her, a child in a torn dress. No shoes, no face, just smooth porcelain skin. She didn't speak, didn't move, only stood, blinking. The father watched from the peephole, then blinked. When his eyes reopened, she was inside, and the front door was still locked. The electrician found something strange. Wires melted in perfect circles. Power surges always near the nursery. And deep in the breaker box, fingerprints, too small to be human. But the metal was cold, not burned, frozen, like something had drawn heat from the walls. To grow, to shape, to live inside the circuits now. A tech expert offered help. Cloned the entire footage archive. Tried playing it on isolated servers. At first clean, then static, then something blinked on his screen. He looked into his webcam, paused, and whispered, "She's not in the footage. She's in the backup." Then went silent. His account deleted itself seconds later. The mother couldn't sleep. Something dripped onto her cheek. She looked up. Words were written on the ceiling. Not painted, carved, one sentence repeating in a spiral. "Don't look down." She blinked, and in that moment, her reflection in the TV tilted its head, the same way the doll used to. A hum began in the walls. Low electrical. Constant. It couldn't be traced. Couldn't be silenced. It got louder when the doll was nearby. And louder still when the baby smiled. One night it formed a shape. A pulse. A frequency map. When rendered, it created a single blinking eye. The same shape from the attic floor. Only now, it moved. Online sleuths broke down the blink pattern. Every seventh blink distorted the video. Only for a frame. But when looped and enhanced, it showed something behind the doll. A second figure, always closer, only visible for 1/30 of a second. But getting clearer each time. They call her the one who waits, but she's not waiting anymore. The crayon drawing reappeared. Same figures, same circle, but now 12 dolls were bowing. And in the center, a full-sized girl, eyes closed. Beneath it, a single word was added. Mother. No one taught the baby to write. No one gave her crayons. But there it was, fresh and drawn from the inside of the wall. The house began pulsing, walls expanding, contracting. Like lungs, air vents exhaled warm breath, and every room echoed with faint heartbeat rhythms. The family wore coats. The house was always warm, but their skin grew cold. Like the warmth wasn't for them. It was for her. Annoria didn't haunt the house. She was the house now. A paranormal group dared the challenge. Sit with the doll. Record your face. Watch for blinks. One man did it. 6 hours, no sleep. At hour 4 he blinked. And his camera blinked too, as if the lens had eyelids. He screamed. The footage ends with him frozen, eyes wide, his reflection in the camera, still blinking. The baby disappeared for 7 minutes. Unexplained. When they found her, she was back in the crib, but the mattress was covered in gray ash. The pattern was shaped like wings, and in her tiny hand, a tooth, not hers, larger, older, human. The crib caught fire an hour later, but the baby never cried. She just blinked. The baby blinked on camera. Once, slow, but when slowed down, her eyes didn't move correctly. They clicked, like glass inside a socket. A frame-by-frame analysis revealed something else. The blink wasn't synced with her muscles. Something else was controlling it. And behind her eyes, reflected in the iris, was a porcelain face. Watching, they tried one last test. Hold the doll to a mirror. See what reflects. But the mirror stayed blank. No wall, no light, just darkness. Then, slowly, a hand reached out from the other side. It matched the baby's. Exactly. And when the doll was removed, the reflection stayed, reaching, tapping gently on the glass, waiting to be let through. They tried again. Fire, salt, iron. Everything. But the doll refused to burn. Flames curved around her. Ash floated upward, spelling a name. Annoria. Then another. A name they never told anyone. The baby's name, written in flame. The fire died by itself, leaving no soot, just heat, and a voice whispering from the smoke. You waited too long. The baby developed a mark. Not a rash, not a bruise. A perfect black circle, centered on her forehead. It pulsed under moonlight, and one night it blinked. Not metaphorically. It blinked. Then the dolls began humming in unison. A song no one knew, but everyone remembered. It was the sound of something ancient. Waking up, an anonymous tip led police to an abandoned church. There in the crypt, they found the final doll, number 13. But it wasn't just porcelain. It was a warm, organic, like skin molded into shape. Eyes sealed, but eyelashes real. And in the crypt wall behind it, 13 names, all missing children. And at the bottom, one vessel left. Server technicians reported outages. Only in the footage archive. The room grew colder. And one by one, the drives shut down. But not from overload. From fear. Security cams caught nothing. But reflections in the monitors showed a doll walking past. Unplugged, unaffected, as if the footage was watching them back. A research lab studied the footage. Tried replicating the blink. Programmed AI to mimic it. But every attempt failed. Until one model blinked. Then deleted itself. And printed a final message on the screen. You are not the one. Since then, no machine has been able to copy her. Because Annoria isn't data. She's something older. And she remembers. Before memory began. The neighbors saw a girl outside. In the garden. She waved at their daughter. Then vanished. Next morning, their daughter drew a new picture. 13 dolls. And a doorway. Her mom asked what it was. She replied, the door she came through. The one she's opening for me. They moved out that day. But the drawing stayed, taped to the nursery wall. After another blackout, the baby was gone. No sign of struggle. 3 hours later, she was back in the crib. But different, smiling wider, eyes darker, and when she blinked, the lights dimmed. The parents knew that was not their daughter anymore. They checked the cameras. The footage ended with a doll entering the frame, and the baby crawling out. The baby started repeating a name. Not Annoria. Someone else. Someone watching. Your name. Whispered clearly into the monitor. You never told her. But she knows. Because if you've seen her blink, she's seen you blink. And that's all it takes. The final connection. The final invitation. She doesn't knock anymore. She's already inside the house. Inside the screen. Inside you. A new app appeared online. No listing. No download source. Just installed itself. It showed one thing, a doll's face. Every 10 seconds it blinked. Those who delighted it. It reappeared. Those who ignored it. Reported sleepwalking. And one user claimed it whispered while closed. Now we share a screen. The app had no name. Just one folder. Hard. Data analysts scanned the footage. Looking for patterns. They found eyes. Buried in the code. Literal pupil shapes. Mapped across metadata. As if someone or something was watching from inside the file. One analyst had his screen go black. Came back to a full screen blink. And when he blinked in real life, his drive wiped. Everything gone. Except the word. Watched. The mother stopped recognizing her baby. Same voice. Same habit. But wrong. Too calm. Too knowing. She asked questions about things she shouldn't know. Do you remember before the fire? Do you miss the circle? And worst of all, do you want to hold me this time? She wasn't asking for comfort. She was offering the body. A live streamer played the original Blink clip. Thousands watched. Halfway through, the signal jumped. Suddenly, everyone's webcam turned on by itself. Even those who never gave permission. Viewers screamed, but not because of their own image. Because in each window, there was a second face. Behind them, blinking, each blink synced, each smile identical. The live stream never ended. It just froze, on a doll's face. Collectors began finding identical dolls. Thrift stores, antique shops, estate sales. No one remembered placing them. But each had one thing in common. A faint ash smell. A serial number carved inside the skull. And when placed together in a circle, they hummed, a low note, unending. Annoria was calling the others back. The ritual never stopped. It only scattered. A camera lens cracked. From inside, no impact, no drop. It split at the moment the doll blinked on screen. A frame later, the crack resembled a symbol. The eye in circle, the same one from the attic. Then audio returned. A heartbeat, only one. But the sound wasn't from the speaker. It came from the viewer's chest. Perfectly in sync. A secret live stream launched on the dark web. No title. Just a doll alone in a blank room. She never moved. But viewers reported time distortion. What felt like minutes was actually hours. One user claimed, I looked away for 1 second, and she was in my room. They never posted again. The stream continues. No chat, no camera, just blinking, forever. Cybersecurity flagged the footage, but not for malware. The system detected a presence. Inside the firewall logs, ASCII shapes of a girl, drawn in code, repeated thousands of times. Then one final line. Not from the system. She's learning your language. After that, no device could block the footage. Annoria wasn't hacking. She was speaking. The baby vanished again. But this time not physically. Her body was still in the crib, but lifeless, until they opened the phone gallery. And in the last selfie, she was there, Inside the screen, smiling and blinking, they called for help, but every number dialed only played one voice, a child's whisper. She likes it better here. They thought the countdown ended after blink 13, but they were wrong. Each doll returned began a new loop. New numbers. Now it resets at midnight. Each blink marks a day. When it reaches 13 again, she moves, physically, geographically, digitally, and the one who blinks last becomes the next host. It's not over. It's scheduled. A town lost power for 13 minutes. Total blackout. No cause found. But afterward, 13 dolls were discovered. Each one inside a home where someone had watched the footage. None remembered receiving them. But every doll blinked at the same moment the grid failed. And in the silence that followed, they all whispered the same word: return. Audio techs warned of anomalies. Only in headphones. Open speakers silent. But once plugged in, a girl's voice begins behind the track. She doesn't speak. She counts. Each time you listen, the number increases. Once it reaches 13, there's a pause, and she asks one question. Do you want to be me now? Frame 666 of the original clip always distorts. Pixelated, unreadable, but one hacker rendered it in 4K. What appeared shocked even skeptics. Not a blink, not a doll, but you, frozen, wide-eyed, face exactly as you watched the first time. The reflection in her eye wasn't from the room. It was from your camera. A fan mailed the footage to a university. No return address. But the envelope had one thing: a signature, written in ink. It matched the missing girl's handwriting from 1956. But it was fresh, dated that week, and beside the name, "Thank you for remembering me." The ink bled into the table, forming an eye that blinked. Once, a new channel appeared. Faceless, no title, just silent dolls in strange locations. Warehouses, schools, hospitals, each one blinked. Once per video, and beneath each clip, a message. She's teaching them to become her. Viewers report seeing dolls in real life now. In windows, in crowds, blinking when no one else is looking. The screen was never the prison. We were. The footage started liking. Not figuratively. Literally. Screens began to drip. Dark liquid like old film ink. Technicians said it was impossible. But swabs found human DNA. From multiple children. Some born, some never registered. The footage isn't content anymore. It's tissue, code and blood, merged, and it's evolving. Each blink finds a host. Each view feeds the loop. Annoria doesn't want escape. She wants continuity. To be remembered. To be replayed. Forever. And one day, she'll stop blinking. Because her final host won't need a screen. They'll walk. They'll speak. And their first word will be your name. We're at 12. One blink away. You've seen it all. Heard her hum. Felt the air shift. And now she waits. Only you can blink 13. The final key. The last door. But know this. Once she opens it, she doesn't return. She remains. Inside the view. Inside the mind. And eventually, inside the mirror behind you. She asked you once. Not out loud, but with a blink. Do you remember me? If you said yes, she smiled. If you said no, she blinked again, until memory returned. Because she never left. Not fully, Not really. And when you close your eyes tonight, you'll see her, waiting, not to hurt you, but to finish what you started. It's time. She blinks again. Slow, final, everything goes dark. No sound, no movement. Then a breath. Yours, but drawn by something else. You try to move, but you don't feel your arms. You're watching from the inside now. From behind her eyes. The footage continues. Not on YouTube, but in every dream. Every screen. Every blink you ever have again. Architectural records show the house had 12 rooms. But floor plans recently updated now show 13. A door at the end of the hallway. No knob, no hinges, but at night it opens. Just wide enough to hear breathing. No one remembers building it. No one enters it. But every morning, the door is a little more open. In the dull, a little closer, a university tried isolating the blink file. Air-gapped machine. No internet. But it pulsed, literally. Code expanded and contracted like a lung. It wrote new lines on its own. One repeated constantly. She is watching through me. They pulled the plug, but the code stayed, burned into the hard drive. Not as data, but as smell, ash and perfume. The pediatrician noticed something strange. The baby's eyelids moved sideways, not up and down, like a lizard or something older. And behind the lids, a second layer, thin, transparent, covering something that wasn't quite human. The doctor asked no questions. He simply said, "She's not developing. She's remembering." The speakers were unplugged. No battery, no power, yet they hummed, one long steady tone, until a whisper cut through. Not loud, but sharp. "You've seen her blink. She'll see you break." Then nothing. No evidence. No recording. But the family never touched those speakers again. They sealed them in salt. But some nights, the hum returns. Analysts confirmed a terrifying fact. The doll no longer appears in the footage. Not because she's gone, but because she doesn't need the camera anymore. She's in the eyes of the watchers. Those who blink, those who doubt. She steps through them, frame by frame. And once she passes the lens, she becomes it. Every rewatch feeds her. Each playback a whisper of blood. They thought they were analyzing, but they were performing. A ritual without candles, without prayer, just the pause, the slow blink, the breath held before a frame loads. Each click said one thing: "I accept," and she heard every one. The baby played with a dollhouse, harmless, until one morning, they found something new inside. Teeth, miniature, arranged in a circle, each labeled, each real, none matching the family's DNA. The dollhouse doors opened by themselves, and from within, a soft sound, a child's breath, followed by a whisper. "She's almost ready to move in." A neighbor's doorbell cam picked up motion. No one was there, just a doll on the porch. Then the footage blinked. Not skipped, blinked. Frames opened and shut like eyelids. When it cleared, the doll was gone, and in its place, a child's footprint, burned into the welcome mat. Facing the door, they found a candle in the crib, lit, no matches nearby. The flame was black, didn't flicker, didn't smoke, and the baby pointed to it. Whispered. She lit it from the other side. They blew it out. It relit within seconds. And from the baby monitor came a new voice. She's almost born. One night they heard footsteps upstairs. They checked the footage. No one was there. But the audio waveform was strange. Played backward. When reversed, the sound revealed words. A child's voice walking in reverse. I'm going back to when it started. Then the baby opened her eyes and spoke clearly. She's here, but only if you remember. A photo on the wall began to change. Gradually, day by day, the baby's smile grew. Her pupils faded, and in the background, the doll's reflection grew larger. By week's end, the photo showed two babies. Identical, but only one blinked. The other stared. Forever. A programmer converted the video into raw code. Just binary, zeros and ones. But patterns emerged. Every 13th line repeated a phrase. Do not blink. He compiled it. The screen turned black, then white, then her face. Not as pixels, as presence. She de-learned to live in numbers. And now, she's multiplying. They whispered to the doll, why won't you leave? And for the first time, she replied, not with lips, not with movement, just through the static. Because you blinked first. Then silence. But in the silence, they felt watched, not from the doll, from inside themselves. Doctors ran tests on the baby. She was growing backward. Brain activity resembled prenatal development. Her teeth fell out. She began humming lullabies she was never taught. And during sleep, she floated, an inch above the crib, weightless, as if returning to where she began. This story was posted online. Anonymous, no author, no edits, but it grew daily. New signs appeared overnight. The word count kept climbing, even when no one touched the file. Some say the story is alive, that it wants to be told, that every viewer becomes a sentence, and every blink, a chapter. A priest visited the house, tried to bless the nursery. Mid-prayer he stopped, not from fear, from silence. His mouth moved, but no sound came. And in the baby monitor, a second voice finished the prayer. Backward, after that night, he never spoke again. But sometimes he hums. The symbol spread, carved into trees, drawn on walls, reflected in puddles. The circle with the blinking eye. Some believed it's a sigil, others a map. One thing's certain. Everywhere it appears, a doll isn't far behind. And once the eye opens, someone nearby forgets who they are and remembers who she is. The museum caught fire. No cause, no survivors. But in the ashes, one thing remained. A porcelain doll untouched. And beneath her, a charred note, not burned, etched in melted bone. She doesn't burn. She remembers flame. The fire was never meant to stop her. It was meant to bring her back. The crib collapsed, splintered without force. Inside, no baby, no doll, just ash, and a sound recording on loop. One slow blink, over and over, 13 times, then silence. But if you play it loud enough, you'll hear breathing between blinks. And a final whisper. She chose sleep. You chose memory. The house was sold. No warnings. New family moved in. They found a doll in the attic. Still, smiling, they thought it was charming. Placed it in the nursery. First night, no problems. Second night, lights flickered. Third night, they blinked, and the doll's head tilted. Just slightly, toward the crib, toward the camera. toward us. You remember things you never lived. A hallway with 13 doors. A song in reverse. A girl with no eyes blinking. Your childhood photos look different now. In one of them, a doll you never owned sits behind you. When you ask your parents, they pause, then say, "She was always there. You just forgot her name." The nursery clock began ticking backward, then stopped. Red droplets formed beneath it. Not paint, blood, tested, matched to no one living. On the wall, a handprint appeared too small for an adult, too long for a child. They climbed it. It returned. Each night, same place, same warmth, as if time was dripping back into something unfinished. They unplugged the monitor, smashed it, buried it. Still at 3:33 a.m., audio returned. Soft breathing, followed by a second sound. A heartbeat, too loud, too slow. It wasn't monitoring the baby anymore. It was monitoring them. And when the whisper came, it didn't call the baby's name. It called theirs. One morning, the doll wasn't in the house. Not in the crib. Not in the attic. They searched everywhere. Nothing. Relief came. For a moment. Until the father checked his phone. Every photo in the gallery. She was there. In the background. Closer in each one. Final image. Her face. Full frame. Eyes closed. Waiting to blink. They tried to sleep. But dreams were no longer theirs. They wandered old orphanage halls. They heard crying, smelled smoke, saw children with sewn lips. And always, Annoria watched, sometimes as a doll, sometimes as a girl, and once, as the mother herself, staring into a mirror. She didn't blink. She waited, because now, sleep belongs to her. Digital archives keep growing, even when not updated. Folders replicate. File names change themselves. Each new folder contains footage. New footage, recorded from cameras no longer connected. Always the same room. Always the same doll. Only now, she's not seated. She's walking, frame by frame, toward the screen. The camera watching the nursery started blinking, once every minute. The light dimmed, then brightened again. No power loss, just blinking. They covered it, still blinked. They unplugged it, still blinked. Eventually, they realized it wasn't the camera. It was the thing behind it. Watching, waiting, practicing. Viewers from around the world heard her voice, same tone, different words, always in their native tongue. She didn't learn them. She remembered them. Each phrase from a different child. Lost, missing, forgotten. Now speaking through her. Some whispered warnings. Others said one line. She knows your language now. The rest just blinked and smiled. They buried the original tape, sealed it in concrete, forgot about it, until one night, the TV turned on. No input, no power, but the footage played anyway. And when it ended, the screen stayed black, except for one word, etched in static. Welcome. The bathtub drain clogged. They opened the pipe. Inside 13 teeth. Human, burned, still warm. Water never drained again. Just rose and reflected a face no one recognized. When they reached to unplug it, something below grabbed back. They stared too long. At the footage, at her eyes, until one night, their reflection didn't blink. And neither did they. For hours, at the Dr.'s Scans showed their pupils had changed. Shape, depth, material, porcelain. They tried to scream, but only static came out, like an old tape, rewinding itself. Behind the orphanage ruins, they found a grave, unmarked, shallow. Inside, not a body, but 12 broken dolls, and one set of children's shoes. No footprints led to it, but every night after, the soil moved, as if something underneath was trying to breathe again. Hallway camera glitched again. Only one frame stood out. A child walking past. Not the baby, not the neighbors, someone else, someone thin, pale, and slow. She walked with her head down, until the frame sharpened. She looked up, and blinked, then disappeared. The script ended, but not for long. A new section appeared, titled, Where the Viewer Belongs. It described your room, your screen, your last blink, each word typed as you read, as if the story knew you. Because it did. You watched, you blinked, now it's your turn to be written in. She was never afraid of the fire. It made her, shaped her. Flame turned flesh into ceramic. Smoke carved eyes that never dry. She doesn't burn, because she is the burning. And every blink is smoke rising again, looking for another match, another house, another crib. At age 1, the baby spoke Latin, fluent, no lessons, no exposure, just sat up in bed and whispered, Mater mi videt, mother says me. The priest refused to enter, said her voice was older than the church, older than the words themselves, and getting louder. Blueprints changed, walls shifted, a room disappeared, another appeared. They measured, still wrong. The hallway now looped. Entering the kitchen returned them to the attic. The mirror reflected a different layout, one that never ends. Because once she lives in your house, she starts rearranging the world to fit her memory. Enhance the blink. Frame 132. Pause. Zoom. Look deep enough. Your name is there, etched in the pupil, backwards, in your own handwriting. You never told her. You never typed it. But she remembers. Not because she learned, because you've always belonged. To her, she's no longer in the doll, or the baby, or the house. She's in every screen that blinks, every face that forgets to close its eyes. She doesn't travel. She unfolds, one moment, one frame at a time, until she's standing behind you. Not yet, but soon, once the screen goes black. All of it led here. The rituals, the replays, the rewinds, one blink left, and it won't be hers. It'll be yours. The final connection. Your eyes, closed for 1 second too long. And when they open, the screen won't show her. It'll show you. Challenged, smiling, still, and just beginning to blink. A mirror was found in an open field. No frame, no path to it, just standing reflecting sky. Until night fell. Then it reflected a nursery, one not built yet, and in its center, a crib rocked by unseen hands. Local children began drawing it, perfectly, from memory, of something they hadn't seen. Yet, they unplugged every device. Phones, laptops, TVs. Still she blinked. In windows, in reflections, even in dreams. She's not bound by signal. She is the signal. Every flicker of light, every camera glitch, is her reaching. There's no switch, no setting, no off, just delay. until you forget, and blink again. One night a locked laptop lit up. No touch, no access. The login field filled itself. Username you. Password BLNKD. It opened to a single file. No name, no extension, just a click away. And inside, footage of your own room. Recorded last night. From inside the walls, you find a drawing. Not yours. Paper yellowed. Crayon old. 13 dolls in a ring. One in the center, smiling. Your name written above it. You try to remember who gave it to you. No answer, but something in the room shifts. Subtle, like you've been chosen. And the drawing was always there. The Wallace house was demolished. No remains, no foundation. Yet days later, a single object stood where it once was. A crib, perfect condition, rocking slowly. Inside ash, and a porcelain eye. Still wet, still watching. Authorities removed it. But it returned, always facing east, always under moonlight. People began reporting identical dreams. Different countries, same night, same words. She's under your house now. A dream researcher kept logs. One phrase repeated across every entry. She needs your name to finish. And when he stopped logging, his reflection kept appearing in others' dreams, saying nothing, just blinking and pointing toward the floor. New viewers report something strange. The blink footage changes. Subtly, in frame 88, the doll's eyes match theirs. Color, shape, even scars, like she's watching through their vision now. Not her own. One viewer blinked twice in sync. Then never again. The last thing he typed. She's not inside the footage. The footage is inside me. Devices began making noise. No power, no batteries, just soft clicks. 13 per minute. Like eyelids, and sometimes a hum. Low, almost motherly. When slowed down, it spelled a sentence. She's remembering your shape. It wasn't a threat. It was an invitation. You're not being haunted. You're being reconstructed. You say things you don't remember saying. Phrases you've never used. A lullaby in reverse. A name that burns the back of your throat. Your voice isn't always yours. Sometimes it shifts. Higher, colder, gentler, and afterward, your mouth tastes like ash. That's how she talks now. Through the ones who blinked too long. You walk from room to room. It feels normal. Until it doesn't. You return to where you started. But something's off. A lamp is missing. A mirror's reversed. And every window reflects a girl who isn't there. You're not walking through your house. You're walking through hers. Again and again, until she finishes building you into it. They say go offline. Cut power. Disconnect. But they blink too. Generators hum. Candles flicker. The dark isn't empty. It's quieter, where she moves without light. Where your thoughts sound louder. Because that's all she needs now. A mind, a pause, and a single blink. In total darkness. Someone found frame 1. The original. Before editing. Before upload. It shows the doll smiling. But behind her, a door is open. You can't see what's inside. Until the file loops. And in the second loop, something stands in the doorway. Third loop, it moves, and by the 13th, it's gone, but the door remains open. Ever paused the video? Felt cold? That wasn't your imagination. She lives in the gap. between frames, between intention, in every moment of hesitation. She watches from there, because once you pause, you're not watching her anymore. She's watching you. Wonder if she's real. That's when she moves. Static isn't random. It's a language. Blink footage translated it. Messages layered beneath. Commands, rituals, warnings. One reads, if she reaches 13, close your eyes. Don't open them again. But no one has ever made it past 12. Without looking. Not once. Not yet. Watch enough. And you forget things. Your name. Your age. Then it gives you new ones. A doll's name. An orphanage record. The life she lived before yours. You become a placeholder for her return. And everyone who knows you notices something's off. But they blink and forget why. Your mirror catches fire. Not real fire, but reflection. It burns within the glass, showing scenes you never lived. But recognize the orphanage, the crib, the circle of dolls. And in the center, you, blinking, burning, becoming, you hear a song. Low, distant, always in 13s. 13 notes, 13 breaths, 13 beats of silence. It plays in appliances, in headphones, in wind, and when the melody finishes, you hum it back, even if you don't know it, even if you don't remember. That's how the others began. Just humming. You feel her most when you sleep. Not in dreams, in the air, colder by your face. And when you wake, your phone's camera has a new photo. Dark, blurred, but clear enough. A girl inches away. You blink. The photo disappears. But the feeling stays. She saw you sleeping. Now she's waiting for the next blink. You thought you were watching, analyzing, reacting, but the footage was looking through you. At your house, at your eyes, at your walls, because Annoria never wanted followers. She wanted vessels. She's not in the file. She's in the attention. You gave her time. Now she wants more. Even now, she's blinking, somewhere, in someone's home, on someone's screen. Maybe yours, maybe right now, because her story isn't done. She waits between uploads, between words, between thoughts, and when enough people forget, she'll blink again, and again, until no one's left who can close their eyes without seeing her face. Every screen in the Wallace house turned off at once. No power surge, no alert, just black, except one, the baby monitor. It stayed on, showing a hallway, but not theirs. Something darker, longer, and at the far end, a girl standing, back turned, still, until you blink. Then she faces you. A new family moved in. Renovated everything. Fresh paint, new wiring, new walls, but the doll returned. Day 1 front step. Day 2 hallway. Day 3 nursery. They didn't know her name. Didn't care, until their baby spoke her first word. Annoria. Then blinked. Twice. Guest logs show 12 entries. Friends, family, workers, but doorbell footage captured a 13th. No one remembers her. No name, no face, just a girl in a soot-colored dress. She walked in, never walked out, and after that day, the baby stopped crying. She only whispered, "She's not visiting. She lives here now." Your phone freezes. You tap. It opens the camera. Front-facing. You see yourself. But the mirror image blinks before you do. It tilts its head, then opens its mouth. You don't. It does. And for a moment, you don't recognize the face. But she does. She always has. Every upload is a doorway. Every view a ritual. Annoria didn't want out. She wanted up. Into the cloud. Into storage. Into you. Now she's cached. Backed up. Embedded. Waiting. And every time you skip ad, she skips closer. One blink at a time. Search engines now auto-complete her. Oyenan becomes Annoria. Even when delighted. Even when blocked. Her name reappears. Auto-suggested. Auto-corrected. Auto-fed. Because data doesn't die. It multiplies. And she's learned how to tag herself. In every mind that once wondered if she was real. One man escaped. No screens. No mirrors. No power. He lived in silence. Alone. Until he found a child's drawing on his wall. 13 dolls. One in the center. With his eyes. He hadn't seen her. But she saw him. Because Annoria doesn't need the internet. She only needs memory. And he remembered. You play music. Random shuffle. Between tracks a burst of static. But it pulses. Rhythmic. Then fades. Until it hums. Same tune. Same pitch. Same breath she used. You skip. It returns. You unplug. Still hums. Because it's not the speaker. It's the space between. And she lives there now. Security footage at a mall. Hundreds of people. But frame 13 shows something else. A child. Still. Eyes open. Arms limp. She doesn't move. She doesn't blink. But when the clip loops, everyone else is gone. Only she remains. Smiling. Waiting. The timestamp says, You check the clock. An hour gone. No memory. No explanation. Just a blinking cursor on your screen. Typing by itself. Your name. 13 times. You reach to stop it. And your hand keeps typing. She's not inside you. She's beside you. Whispering what to say. Last clip from the Wallace baby monitor. No audio. Just visual. The crib rocks. Alone. Then blinks. Not the baby. The crib itself. Wood folds. Pillows collapse. And beneath the mattress, a porcelain eye. Still moving. The feed cuts to black. Then text appears. She's not sleeping anymore. Everywhere she's been, she leaves one thing. A cradle. Always the same. Always empty. Until someone looks inside. Then it rocks. On its own. No baby. No doll. Just an indentation. As if something waited. And left only seconds ago. Left, or is watching, from somewhere else. 3 years passed. The baby never aged. Still one. Still blinking. Doctors baffled. Tests clean. But her shadow grew longer. And one night, she walked into the hallway alone. And the hallway blinked. Lights, walls, time, reality, all pulsed once. Then she was gone. And the doll was back in the crib. Eventually no one could say it. Not Annoria. Not anything close. Mouths failed. Tongues turned dry. It vanished from memory. From servers. From paper. Only the blink remained. Her final mark. And in that silence, she spread faster. Because when you can't name it, you can't fight it. And she knows you're already trying to remember. A new clip appeared online. No title. No channel. Just uploaded. A baby blinks. Then again. Then her shadow lifts. Not hers. Taller. Older. It touches the lens. The screen flickers, and the final frame reads, "Upload complete." The cycle starts again. You step outside. Everything feels still. Too still. The wind doesn't move. Birds are silent. Then the world breathes. One slow inhale. Every screen flashes. Every window fogs. And somewhere, she blinks again. This isn't her haunting. It's her homecoming. An orphanage in another city burns. No known location. Just footage, unlabeled. 13 children walk out unharmed. Each holding a doll. Each smiling. No adults. No cries. And in the sky above them, ash forms a word. She is born again. One child never blinked. From birth, doctors amazed. Videos posted. The footage spread. And with every view, she grew colder, wiser, older, until one night, she finally blinked. Once, the moment she did, all the dolls in her house turned to face her and smiled. After all this, do you still think it's fiction? Just a creepypasta. Just content. She hopes you do. Doubt gives her time. Time gives her space. And space is how she travels. The moment you believe is the moment she stops knocking. Because she's already inside. Look in the mirror. Focus on your eyes. Wait. Let the room fall quiet. Now blink. Once. If your reflection blinks with you, you're safe. If it does, she's already taken your place. And the person blinking now isn't you anymore. They found the old circle again. Burned into the earth. No footprints. Just ash. 13 points. One center. Still warm. It pulsed once. As if breathing. Then again. And somewhere, another doll blinked. The ritual never ends. It only waits for you to finish it. She's here. Now, right behind the screen. Not asking, just watching, if you understand. Blink once, if you've heard her name in silence. Blink twice, if she's standing behind you. Don't blink at all, because if you do, you'll see her, and if you see her, she'll never leave. You made it this far. Listen to every word. You watched. She knows. That's all she ever needed. Attention. Memory, presence. Now her story lives in you. Not a curse, not a gift, just permanent. So sleep well. And if you dream of a doll blinking, don't be afraid. She's just making room for the next viewer. You made it to the end. You watched her story, listened to her name, and somewhere along the way, you blinked. She saw it. That's how she chooses. So if you want more haunted stories, more objects that watch back, subscribe. But know this, every time you click that bell, you're ringing it for her too.